Well, hello, everyone, and welcome back to The Empowered Patient. I am here with a very exciting guest whom I just met recently, and I'm so thrilled to know. Her name is Maria Angelova, and is she a powerhouse? I can't wait for her to tell you all about what she does. Essentially, I just want to give her a brief introduction before she talks about what she does. And essentially, I want to tell you about her amazing holistic approach to both mind and body. She balances movement and mindset, as well as empowering individuals. And as you can tell by the name of my podcast, that works perfectly with my whole mindset. So I love this. And I can't wait to hear more about what you have to say. She has over 30 years of experience in fitness and 17 years in the corporate world, amazingly enough, made a very healthy change 17 years ago. Maria has a unique understanding of how people manage their stress and how people interact with one another, especially through her challenging professional career when she had to deal with balancing all of her demanding career as well as commitment to herself and her personal well-being. So without further ado, I'd like to allow Maria to further introduce herself.
Thank you so much for having me here, Dr. Tiffany. I appreciate the opportunity to be here with you and your audience.
Thank
and
you.
Yes, I'm excited to be here because everything that I do is about empowering you to be your best self and to feel your greatest. It's as simple as that and as complicated as that. And I firmly believe that our body is an expression of us physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. And when we take care of ourselves in all of those ways, we have opportunities to be empowered and to feel better.
I couldn't agree with you more. I would love to know a little bit more about how you got here and what brought you to create this program and what your journey was to become who you are now.
So since I was a kid, I always had interest in movement. I was very good at movement. However, I grew up in a family of academics. Both of my parents are PhDs, and I grew up in Eastern Europe. I'm Bulgarian. So there was really not much even talk about sports. It was about you're going to go to school, get good grades, get a good job, and which I did. So I completed my undergraduate and graduate degrees actually in finance, and I worked in the corporate world for 17 years. And about 8.5 years ago, I got this internal nudge which said you should really go after what you love, which was I have always loved movement. And since I was 16, I had been teaching movement as a side gig and a hobby. And I was ripe in my career at that time. So the salary, the benefits, all of those things that keep us where we are.
Yes.
It was a big consideration, and I sat on it for about a year and a half, and that internal nudge just kept getting louder and louder. And finally I made the change, and I went from a finance director to I started my journey with having a classical Pilates studio. Most people around me told me that I'm crazy to make that change, which is why the name Rebellious came into place. Because to me, rebellious is about staying true to who you are and what you want to do with your life. Because what you want to do and what I want to do and somebody else wants to do might be completely different. And everything that I teach since the start of my company evolved into truly an integrative mind, body, spirit practice has happened because of the start of my journey. I was a great student. I was always honor rolls, highest student, as a salutatorian in high school, highest honors in college. I did great in the corporate world. Yeah. And then I started my entrepreneurship journey and I was completely stuck. And I was like, something doesn't make sense. Like, what am I missing? And what I was missing was the mindset. And I didn't even know that there's something out there called mindset coaching. And when I first kind of stumbled into the first summit and they started talking about limiting beliefs, I was like almost 40, highly educated, highly successful, and so not knowing who I am, what I want, what are my belief system. I had really not much self-awareness. With that, and along with watching bodies, I would watch people's bodies. My practice started very much as a fitness practice. Come and do your fitness, Pilates fitness.
Sure.
But what really distinguishes my approach to fitness is that it's not the number of reps or the number of sets. It's really one, are you able to maintain alignment? Two, are you biomechanically moving properly? And then I watch when your movement patterns change, and I started asking clients, like, what changed in your life? What did you do differently? And sometimes it would be a physical. I sat too long, I traveled. Sometimes it would be like, oh, I went out and I drank a bit too much. And sometimes it would be, I had a really stressful day, or I had a fight with my spouse. And it's fascinating how those little things that you don't think make a big difference, they stamp your body and the body responds to them. And most of us are too too checked out to pay attention to any of that.
So you're saying that when somebody comes into your class, your Pilates class, and they've had a bad day or something is going on in their lives, you see them move differently than
I do.
otherwise?
I will tell them. What happened? What did you do differently? And 99.9 of the time, they'll say nothing. They just don't even think about it. And I'll say no. So then I'll start going through the physical stuff. Did you sit with a twist? Did you lean over? Did you sleep like that? They'll say, tell me, how are you doing emotionally? By the end of class, 99.9% of the time, they go, oh my God, I can't believe I forgot this happened. Sometimes they laugh because they're like, wow, you know my body better than I do. And I'm like, yeah, because I watch your patterns and how you do. I pay attention to the intonation with which you talk. I pay attention. I have neuro-linguistic programming certification. I pay attention to the words that you choose when you speak. They're very reflective of your state of being. And all of them reflect into how you feel. So, for example, Dr. Tiffany, if you get up and from the start of the day, you start beating on yourself, how do you feel? You don't feel like, wow, I have amazing energy. It's like your body is just going, oh, like you're shrinking, you're tightening. When there is stress in the body, what happens? If I were to punch somebody in the belly, what are they intuitively going to do? They're going to protect themselves.
Right.
So if you think of stress, what happens to the body? It goes to protect itself. Well, ideally, just like with stress, the punch will come and then it's going to go away so you can return back to normal.
So let me ask you a question. As a doctor and scientist, I like to think about things in cause and effect type of a way. Yeah. So when you see somebody in your class and they're moving differently and they can't initially recognize what it is, if you help them correct their body movement, does that help the flow of energy so that they correct the thing that's bothering them? Or is it the other way around? You have to fix the problem before you move normally.
So let's take it from a physical aspect. Let's say you positioned your laptop to the side and the whole day you work like this. And your spine will, if you do this every day, your spine will twist like this, right? So if we have to correct the physical, when I get them to rebalance the muscles into their body, they're going to return physically into equilibrium, into alignment. If you have something emotional going on and you are stressed, and you probably know this. What happens if we are tense? We start breathing with the shoulders up. That creates tension into the neck and shoulders. Do you know any stressed people who complain of their neck and shoulders being tight? Yes. Also, that affects your breathing pattern. Now you're not taking enough oxygen into your body as well, which it becomes like a vicious circle, which then creates extra tension into your body. So when we start opening the body, sometimes people will start crying and they're like, I don't know why I'm crying. Nothing hurts. It's because that tension is leaving their body and their body is like, oh. And you literally see it because they go from this tension.
Right.
You literally see it on their face. The tension just relax. And you see the shoulder comes down. The belly sinks. You can feel the back open up and they'll go, oh my God, yes. They can release through the physical movement, or sometimes they can release through, we talk through whatever, that's where the mindset comes. But your body is very reflective. Can we play?
Sure.
Here?
I love playing.
Okay. If I say grief, do you feel that in your body?
Yep, I did. I felt a downward pull.
Yeah. If I say happiness, can you like if you pause and pay attention, can you feel the difference? And nothing has happened. All I said is words that have general association.
That's very interesting.
When you start beating on yourself and you're throwing these words which are not so kind to you, your body goes, oh. And then when you're kind to yourself and loving to yourself, what happens? Your chest open, your heart's open. You can open your heart to the world. Your energy changes, your vitality changes. It's a really phenomenal process to watch.
That is very interesting. So I'm thinking, as you know, I'm a cancer specialist. And so I'm thinking about how my patients could potentially apply this. So imagining that you get a diagnosis, that you've been diagnosed with breast cancer or something, and you're waiting to find out some test results and you're stressed and you're worried and you're scared. What kind of techniques would you recommend that they try?
Some of the easiest techniques are anything that allows you to quiet, because what happens, even as you're like speaking, or if perhaps even when somebody comes to your office without even knowing the diagnosis, right? What happens? Their heart is beating a little bit more. They're getting sweaty, right? They feel like their mind is overwhelmed. What if?
Right.
We feel that state of overwhelm, that tension, we're not breathing. So something as easy as take a pause and take a couple of relaxing breaths. Yeah. Do you see how your shoulders came down?
Yep.
Anything to allow you to be present. I love to do guided meditations. I do a lot of guided meditations because for a lot of people who are in a state of overwhelm, or their sympathetic, which is their fight or flight nervous system, is on overdrive, they have a very hard time shutting down their mind. Anything that's like acute stressors, such as a diagnosis, would fire you up. So guided meditations. I love outdoors. I think the outdoors are very therapeutic. And again, breathing, focusing on the trees and the birds and tuning in your senses to the sound of the birds.
Sure. And being in the moment.
Finding yourself present and grounded.
Yep.
Because diagnosis is a diagnosis. It is what it is. And I say that with compassion and love and understanding. Unfortunately, I think I shared with you, my dad passed away from lung cancer.
Yeah.
It's scary. And a lot of things start going through your head. So the best thing we can do is to calm our nervous system down. What does that do? That takes us away from sympathetic to parasympathetic, which is the rest and digest system, which then starts creating clarity and calm, and it changes the dynamic of our energy. If people get stressed, you sometimes see their fist, right? When the body relaxes, you see that. Now, let's say they have to do treatments after that. That's a lot on the body too, right?
Sure.
That's a lot on the mind too.
Yeah, I was going to say, these my patients, unfortunately, it's not just the time of diagnosis. It's also then they have to get a CAT scan, and then they're going to get their first treatment, and then they're waiting for the radiation appointment or whatever it is. Like, it's a continuous up and down stress for them. And so anything that I can help them with in terms of visualization, slowing your breathing, think of a specific word that helps you to ground yourself.
Present.
Yeah. Those sound like reasonable.
Yes. And I would say pick a word perhaps that helps you calm. So for example, the word that pops to mind right now is healing. Now that might bring emotional. Allow that emotion to process. It's okay to cry. It's okay to be sad. But what we want to do, instead of stuffing the sadness and the fear, whatever feelings or the anger that appear for you, allow them to clear from your body. The calmer your body is, the better state you are. When people go through, let's say, chemotherapy, what does that do to their immune system? It weakens the immune system. What does stress to the immune system?
Same thing.
So these little things, they are so powerful because now you're giving your body a chance to restore. Even when you're doing the chemo, pause the chemo, do that breathing, stay present and ground yourself into something that feels good to keep your vibrations, your body vibrations high. You are helping yourself. You're helping yourself going through the process. You're helping your body, your mind, and your spirit support you through the process. If we go into fear, grief, anger, anything that's low vibrational, that pulls us down.
Yeah, agree. Couldn't agree more. And as I've talked to you about before, that cancer isn't just about the chemotherapy or which treatment that you're getting. I mean, it's about a journey, and it can oftentimes be prolonged journey. And I really feel my mission is to help guide patients to empower themselves so that they can process these emotions and they can help regain their own, in your same words, clarity, and build confidence in themselves and foster the resilience that they really need to heal completely. I mean, let's face it, women, especially women, we spend our entire lives being the caretakers for everybody else. It's just part and parcel of how we function in society, whether we want to admit it or not. That's what we do. And most women are putting themselves, behind their other responsibilities. Can't tell you how many times my patients have said, "Oh, I can't do treatment on Friday, even though that's the best day because, I have a report due for work and my boss will be so upset if I'm not there, or my kid has something that I have to pick them up from or something." And, I often will try and tell patients that, you have to really put yourself first. In fact, I've taken a prescription pad and written on it for a patient, "You come first right now." Once you've hit, especially a cancer diagnosis, if not everything else moving forward, as you've been discussing, if you don't put yourself first, there is no caretaking of other people. You have to take care of yourself to take your biggest challenges.
And I love that you're saying that because I deal with a lot of people who are highly stressed. I work with high achievers, and that's a big thing for them. "Oh, I don't have time to do this. I don't have 5 minutes to take." And I'm like, what? Because I have the family and the job and this and that and this and that. Great. So what's going to happen when you collapse?
Exactly.
So who is going to do the 15 things that you do, especially when you have a diagnosis? Really, any diagnosis, and ideally we would be proactive, but especially when you're already there.
Yeah.
It's important to remember that your state of being can be a game changer into how you go through treatments that you offer. Because really
100%.
the healing starts with you. Disease is your body asking you, please stop. I have been giving you warning signs and you keep ignoring them. So here we are. And that's a mindset that it's becoming pervasive into our society. Even with the diagnosis, we still don't have time to slow down, which is crazy.
It is crazy.
It's
Women
like-
really need to learn how to prioritize themselves.
Yeah.
You know, I was talking to my husband the other night, and would you believe, knowing what I do, medical oncologist, over 25 years, what have you, I treat breast and gynecological cancers. Do you want to know when my last mammogram was? I'm overdue. I just realized it last night. I worry about everybody else's mammogram, making sure that everybody's getting their testing on time. And for God's sake, I didn't get mine this year, did I?
And why did you not get it?
Because I'm not prioritizing myself. It's that easy. You know, I can sit here and tell patients about it, and it might sound like I'm talking from a high, but truth be told, my mammogram's overdue. And it's that pervasive. You know, I'm worrying about, is there food tomorrow? Do we have enough toilet paper? Do I have enough clients this week? Keeping my new company going, that sort of thing. Oh yeah, by the way, your mammogram is due.
And it's easy to do, like you said, because we are so conditioned. And then you talk to your colleague who is probably like, oh yeah, my mammogram is overdue too, right?
Right.
And then now you feel like, oh, okay, well, I feel better because she's overdue too. So I'm really good. And we normalize it. Yeah.
So do you work with any cancer patients? Do you have any patients in your program or in your Pilates?
Not currently, but yes, I have done. And I will tell you what's different is there is the mindset piece, there is the mindfulness piece, but there is also the part of working with the body. That's what makes my method, the Angelova method, very different because people can't even understand. Like sometimes when I talk, people hear me, but they're like, I don't really know what she's talking about. Like, what do you mean, my body? Like, right? It sounds kind of weird.
Sure.
When you start tapping into the body and feeling these areas that are holding on the stress and the tension. And I'll tell you, I don't know if you're familiar with the work of Louise Hay or Christine Bierland, the impact of emotions in the context of disease. A lot of times, like cancer, for example, is resentment. And
guilt. I also see guilt.
Guilt.
I feel like it's their fault.
So working through those emotions, where are they coming from? Where are they stored in the body? Helping the body clear those has tremendous implications. I work with a lot of people with chronic conditions, disease. I have a past client with cancer. Actually, I work with quite a few people who have had breast cancer and they're in remission right now, not actively. But the work is very, very complementary to the journey, whatever the journey is, whether they're on chemo or whatever treatment that they're doing, because this applies to every single one of us as a human. We all have a physical body, we all have emotions, we all have a mental state, and we all have a spiritual state, whether we want to acknowledge it or not.
Yeah. I can't tell you how many times I've met new patients and you can almost feel their sense or their aura when they come in, their energy. And you can tell even before they open their mouth, who's a fighter, who sees the glass half empty, and who sees the glass half full. And I agree with you. I think it actually makes a big difference on how well the patient tolerates the treatment and how well they are participating in their own care. I often will talk to my patients about the fact that they really need to decide if they're going to let this happen to them or if they're going to take control of it and be part of it and help write the story.
And this is so important because the approach that you can take it as I'm the victim of this, or okay, this is happening for me and I acknowledge it doesn't feel good. It is what it is. Now what? And become, like you said, an active participant. And that vibrational state that you talk about is exactly what I help people do, because they start feeling in their body right away, ooh, my vibration is shifting. And then I teach them the tools to, okay, so if you feel you're sleeping, if you're going down the rabbit hole, how can you pull yourself up? And when you're going, especially through treatment, and you're still managing family, career, and maybe aging parents, and on top of that treatment, that's a lot.
Absolutely.
That's a lot.
But I also found that an acute situation happens, like a cancer diagnosis, that some of, and this happens to everybody, myself included, that when something bad happens, your inner traits tend to get amplified. So I think it's very challenging to help change somebody's mindset in that situation, because they probably have felt that way or might have felt that way most of their lives. And now I'm asking them to change how they're approaching something and how they're challenging the mindset. And that's, now I'm asking for a whole shift in the environment.
And that is what their disease has likely brought to them because they have things in them that they're asking to let go of, that are not serving them. And it's like, okay, we're here now. Now what? Are you ready to let go of what doesn't serve you? And I'll tell you, for example, because I told you I work with a lot of high achievers. They're like, I'm going to get in there, I'm going to be tough, and I'm going to push. And the body's going, whoo, I'm already going through a lot. Now you're going to ask me to push? You're asking a lot for your body. This is the time where you need to be intentional to find time for rest. And for a lot of people, when you even tell them that, they freak out. I did a live yesterday exactly about that. I tell people, can you slow down for 5 minutes? That's all I'm asking. And you see the tension, the fist, the shoulders, like 5 minutes of doing nothing? Like, yeah, but that gives you feedback of where they are. So when you're in that state, you can choose the experience. Do you want to flow and help your body go through that process, which is a lot? Or do you want to push the way you have always been pushing? I mean, yeah, you can do it both ways, but the experience is going to be very different.
Yeah. So where is your Pilates studio?
So I am located in Atlanta, Georgia, in the suburbs of Atlanta. And the great news is that I'm not limited by location. I also work with people online. So I have clients all throughout the nation. And it works fantastically. The biggest difference is I can't put my hands on you when we're doing the physical work.
Sure.
So it does require a little bit more of mind-body awareness, but the process works incredibly and it changes people in the most beautiful way.
And how long does one of your programs usually last? What is like the average participant?
So my programs, the minimum commitment is 6 months to 1 year. Why? Because exactly to the point you made, changing a mindset that for, I don't know what the average age of your patient is, but 30, 40, 50 years, we actually work with neuroplasticity, which is creating new neurological pathways in the brain of how you move as well as how you think. So that requires repetition. So that's why I do minimum of 6 months. And to be honest with you, pretty much always I recommend people to do it for a year, because in the 6 months, people are kind of like, they start feeling better. And that's why they keep coming back, but they're like not convinced on the process. It's weird. Like they've never done anything like that before. About 6 months to a year, they're like, oh, I get it. And I'll tell you, I have a very high retention rate because most people stick with me for years because they feel the difference and they feel how they're growing over time.
So where do you get most of your referrals from? As you know, I'm starting my own concierge second opinion consulting virtually. And I've been personally finding it difficult. I'm not sure where to find the patients. Most of my patients now have come from either friends and family or, referrals from old patients of mine when I was at Memorial Sloan Kettering. And so I really want to get my reach out there because I know I can help so many people just like you can. And so how do patients come to you?
Most of them are referral from clients, from existing clients or physicians. I collaborate with a lot of physicians, orthos, chiropractors, actually lately a lot more internal and family physicians, a lot of concierge physicians, because I think now we have a little bit more evidence behind the stuff I'm talking about, like the mindset, the mindfulness. So people are starting to look alternative supports. And I'll give you an example, like an ortho. If you think of somebody who just had back pain, some of them are like, I'm not going to send them to the gym because they're not stable. Like their core is weak. They are very prone to injury. So for somebody like that, I'm a perfect referral source because I start super slow and conservative and meet the body where it is. I really think it's also a function of time. The more, and I see the work that you're doing. I mean, I did look at your LinkedIn. I did look at your Instagram. I think the stuff that you're talking about is so important because I have a personal experience with cancer, right? My dad went through cancer. And when he was going through it, unfortunately, I didn't know everything that I know now. I think what you're doing is so valuable because it is not there. It's like people are like given a diagnosis and then this is the treatment and then let's go.
And good luck.
And good luck. Yeah. And that's what people know. And then they talk to somebody else and they've had the exact same experience. So, oh my gosh, I have to be vulnerable and slow down. And now people are going to judge me. Who cares? Like you're going to fucking cancer. I think what you're doing is so important. Patients have to be empowered with any disease that you're doing. You have to prioritize yourself. You have to be empowered and they need resources. I honestly think for you, and you're serving such a niche and with your background, you also have to remember, I came from finance into wellness. That's like a big gap.
I'm
You're
sure.
coming from what you used to do to something that's very aligned with it. I honestly think it's just a matter of time before people find you and you'll be in high demand. Now
I
you want to
actually
serve
was
people.
thinking, I want to help people.
Yeah.
I was actually thinking this morning, and I was like, maybe I should go back to practice. Like, I actually miss having a lot of patients. And so, because it's what I do, it's who I am, it's a calling, it's ingrained in me. And so I have like a longing to help people. And I have to get out there and have people find me.
So may I ask you a question?
Sure.
So why did you get out of that and jump into what you're doing now?
There's a couple of reasons. So one is that I was pretty burnt out. I was working for Memorial Sloan Kettering. It's a very large cancer institution. It's one of the best in the world. And it became a very difficult place to work at. The work ethic there, the reason that it's so successful is because they had people like me. We're type A, we're going to keep working until we bleed. But there was very little support from the rest of the administration. It was always all about, are all your notes written? Were they written yesterday? Are they done? Did you get all your chemotherapy orders in? Nobody cares that you were there until 9:30 at night, calling patients back, talking people off the ledge, up until 1:30 in the morning, finishing these notes. And it's part of the job, and I get that. But I think at some point, there's a breaking point for so many physicians that you're dealing with life and death situations with patients that in general are not feeling well. They're high anxiety. Their family members may be angry. There's all kinds of emotions. I used to say that you can open the exam room door and you never know what you're walking into. Sometimes my nurse would go ahead of me, in front of me, to go into some of the rooms, and I'd have her come out and tell me. Basically, I'd say, give me the temperature. What's the temperature in the room? Just so I know what I'm walking into. Whatever it is, I have to deal with it. But sometimes patients have the emotional strain there is enormous. But then to also have all of the corporate backlog and download on the physicians with very little support. I used to joke that I want you to see more and more patients. And I'd be like, can I have a pen? It's like they would you hardly got any support whatsoever. Like every time you turned around, they were changing the workflow, and you have to see more patients, but we're only going to give you 2 exam rooms now instead of 3 because your RVUs may or may not support you having 3 whole rooms to use. Just a lot of silly stuff that really over the years just built up. But the breaking point for me, I think, was also the fact that I started to feel like I wasn't able to serve my patients the way that I wanted to. And I kept doing what I do because that's what I do, and kept helping my patients. But I really, at the end of the day, would feel sad because I would feel like I didn't necessarily give them everything that they needed, the support that they needed, the education they needed, my time. And I decided that there's a better way to do this, and that I could help, and I can help people on a much deeper level and much more satisfactory to the patients in this manner. And I also, as you know, I'm building a whole educational platform and a community that I'm building. And I think that once I get my book out there and all of my information, I'll end up being able to help even more patients than I did before. I was limited by the number of hours of the day and how many people they could get into the exam rooms. Now my reach is infinite.
And that's what I'm going with it. You left for a reason, right?
Yeah.
And you have a pretty strong reason. I do what I do because I love it. And why am I excited to be on podcast? Because I so believe into what I do, and I know it changes people's life. I want everyone to feel amazing, because you can be successful and feel great. You can be aging and feel great. Like sometimes we have this exception. The same thing for you. And when you get into this entrepreneurial journey, you're like, whoa, I got into this, and like, where are the people that I want to help? And that's what I'm saying. Some of it is a factor of time. Don't get discouraged, because I think a lot of entrepreneurs can relate to that. It takes a second to get the ball rolling. Unfortunately, cancer is going nowhere. And again, I think cancer patients are seeking what you're providing, and they're looking for compassionate doctors. One term I've heard physicians say is they've called it moral injury. I go into the room, I give the patient the cancer diagnosis, and I don't have time because I have to see the next patient. I have to go out while they're falling apart. And that's not why I got into the business of being a doctor.
Absolutely.
I got because I'm passionate and compassionate, and I want to help people. So that's what people are looking for. And I think, I talk also a lot about that, about the need to change into the healthcare and wellness industry exactly for that reason. We can't have burnout doctors and expect them to be compassionate. Your cup has to be full. As a human, you have to have time to go to your kid's game, do your mammogram, right? You're a human too. So I honestly think there is It's
It's
just
coming.
a matter
It's
of people
coming.
getting to know about, don't
Yeah.
get discouraged and don't doubt yourself. You made that choice for a solid reason. You didn't just decide, well, let me just hop out and see what's out there, right? You had a why.
Let me give up my 401k and my
Right,
job
right.
security and just
Yeah,
start this company.
just go. Yeah.
No, it's true. I know I mean, it's in my heart. It's part of my soul. I love what I do. And I just have the desire to help people. And feel very fortunate that I'm able to try and work it out this direction.
And you know what? The other thing I would say is I think when you serve from the heart, I mean, yes, you will be challenged, especially as an entrepreneur. Don't forget your why.
Yes.
Because when that
Agreed.
why is what's going to hold you when, the course that you rolled out that you're so excited about, like, why is nobody buying it, or like, where are the patients, or when things don't go your way, just remember why you're doing what you're doing, because patients need it.
No, I agree with you.
Yeah.
So how would people get in touch with you if they were interested in working with you?
So best way is my website, Rebellious Studio, REBELLIOUS Studio, oneword.com. And from there, you can fill out the form, you can reach out, you can see about all the things that I do. I have, if anybody is interested, I have an upcoming retreat in Bulgaria in July, which is my home country.
Wow.
A full week. Yeah. So I'm thrilled to get people to experience the work. Once you experience it, I tell people there's no going back, because once you realize how great you can feel, there is no going back to feeling crappy. Yeah.
Well, any last words?
Take care of yourself, take care of your body, mind, and spirit. And it's okay to put yourself first, to make yourself first.
I love
Give
it.
yourself a chance. Yeah.
Maria, this was such a pleasure. Thank you so much. You are honestly such a beautiful soul. I really appreciate you sharing about all of this with my audience. And I will make sure to put at the end in the show notes your contact information. Again, it's rebelliousstudio.com.
Yes.
Terrific.
Thank you so much, Dr. Tiffany. I appreciate the opportunity. Bye.